it's a very short list of benefits, so it's easy and cheap and powerful. And so you can see in a context like the one we're in with the International Cancer Genome Consortium, where we have groups from all around the world who are sequencing data, analyzing data, sharing data very quickly, that these data sets become very large. It becomes very difficult to do, as I mentioned, on your own machine, let alone an academic computing center. And so this is one of the reasons that people are turning to the cloud. And similarly, it's not just the size of data, but similarly, if you've got, this is a slide forward from a colleague at OCR. Similar here, to be able to have a kind of harmonized portfolio, this is through kind of ICGC Argo project, including also clinical data, to be able to, in the same way, from wherever you are on your laptop, connect to it without having to spend hours, weeks, or months downloading all this data to a local machine over very slow links. And then also to have the analytic tools and pipelines you need that are already, many of which are pre-built for you. You can combine them as you like. Here we've got getting more into the ethical legal side of things, data access control, compliance and approvals, because often to have access to different data sets, you need to go through some kind of process to get approval as being a kind of bona fide researcher, et cetera, et cetera. So with your authorizations, then the idea is to make it simple to run a specific analytic pipeline across all the donors in the different clouds of a specific kind, and to be able to do this conveniently from wherever you are. So this is kind of where things are headed, what we're trying to get to. This is another slide that's kind of trying to so the collaboratory kind of infrastructure that we're working with this week is built based on OpenStack, which is an open source kind of cloud infrastructure that allows us to do things like fire up virtual machines. The reason we use virtual machines is basically an idea, whether people are familiar with it already or not, I'm not sure, but you can fire up, say, an instance of a certain operating system running, say, Linux Ubuntu. You can tell it I want so-and-so to run on so many processors, to have so many megabytes or terabytes or gigabytes of storage space. It can be created basically instantly and remotely from wherever you are without having to have access to the actual power near you. So a lot of what we'll be doing is being able to fire up this kind of a web interface with the OpenStack stuff that's been customized a bit by the collaboratory people. We'll be able to fire up a virtual machine in the cloud, and then through basically a kind of command line or other interface, we'll be connecting to that securely so that no one else can kind of listen in or can intrude on what we're doing. So I'll move into kind of the second aspect, which starts to raise some of the privacy, ethical, legal issues. In the broader context, what we've been seeing in recent years, especially in healthcare, is, but if you've been following probably the news at all, I mean, information security is probably something that you're aware of. We've seen a kind of wave after wave of seem to be tectonic things, everything from ransomware that's been going over the last few years, the ideas that some malicious software that will be implanted into your computer, encrypt your entire machine so you can't read anything, and will demand a ransom, either usually in Bitcoin, and you won't be able to get your data back until you pay the ransom. And there's been large institutions that have fallen prey to this. But not only this, we've seen kind of wireless networking. This was a huge WPA2 vulnerability disclosed 6 months ago. There were, Spectre, kind of wave after wave of large breaches, large vulnerabilities disclosed. Healthcare has seen a huge amount of breaches. Obviously, something's getting closer. On the research side, there have been breaches, problems, but they've been to a much smaller degree. There's been far fewer high-profile breaches until now. But I mean, my suspicion is, as now we're starting to do more and more integration between research and clinical data, as we're talking about, as people need to rely on clinical data in order to figure out what the significance of different variants is, there's at least the risk that things could go more in this direction. And so this is the slide. I don't want to feel like when a high school class and a police officer talking about dangers of drugs, etc. But so in the U.S. there's a law called HIPAA. I'm not sure if people are familiar with it or heard of it before. It's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So different countries in the world have different approaches to privacy law. This is one of the big important ones in the U.S. and one of the things about it is that it's health specific. And so I should back up. It's not actually a privacy law, as you can tell by the name. It talks about health insurance and portability rather than privacy. But a few years after it came into effect, there's an aspect of it that was added in called the privacy rule that has it's a pretty comprehensive framework on dealing with the privacy of health information. Explicitly, it's supposed to deal with clinical data, but when that clinical data gets shared with researchers, then it's still subject to this law called HIPAA. It's enforced by the Office for Civil Rights here in the U.S. There's been big, coming out of some of the breaches, there's been a lot of big kind of claims that have come out, and so there was recently a settlement for $5.5 million that this organization called Advocate Health System in Illinois had to pay in 2016. It was related to earlier data breaches that had compromised 4 million people's records. So you can see that the more people's records we're storing, not only is the bigger kind of risk of the number of people that could be harmed through a breach, but also it becomes more incentive for people who are malicious people who are looking for stuff to say that this is a large and comprehensive and rich database that's going to give you much more incentive to try to get in. We'll be talking more about HIPAA and the specifics of it a bit later on, but so this is just a kind of introduction. In Europe, in the European Union, so I don't know if people have ever heard of the General Data Protection Regulation. It's a new law, I see, but we have nothing more than with HIPAA. It's going to come fully into force this May 25th, so in a few months, and it's quite different than HIPAA. So it deals with all kind of privacy and personal data in Europe, so it's not health specific in any way. It's not specific to public sector, private sector, health sector, but it's highly influential. Europe is seen as kind of being kind of the driving force behind a lot of privacy and data protection in the world. And so, for example, for Canadians here, I'm not sure if you would have heard of, but one of the most famous privacy law in Canada is called the PITA. It's a federal private sector law. If you've heard of a privacy law, maybe that one. And that one was adopted actually in the late 90s. Basically, people don't like to admit, I think, it was basically in response to the precursor to the European regulation to say, oh, this new thing is coming into force in Europe. They're only going to allow international transfers of data with countries that have significant censorship on data protection, so we're going to enact this. So this new regulation is coming into force is going to up the potential penalties a lot too. And again, this is not health specific, but so the fines that they're going to have are up to $20 million or 4% of a company's annual worldwide turnover, which is over its greater, which is a steep penalty, seems being kind of larger than anything we've seen before. And there are cases in which Egyptian laws carry penalties of imprisonment. There was one case where I think it was one of the big tech companies. It wasn't Google. I don't want to get the wrong company, but some Italian officers they didn't end up serving. There ended up being an appeal or something. There was at one point a verdict saying these people should be penalized by imprisonment for a data protection violation. I don't think it was. I should look up. I don't think it was Facebook either. We'll talk about it a bit more, but there's been some litigation around this Facebook and this red as well. So this is a kind of another headline.